Hey, and welcome to a brand new episode of Straight Up Show podcast. I am your host, Calvin, joined with Brandon and welcoming back Lee today. How you guys doing today?
It's all good.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going good. All right, Lee. We missed you last episode, but man, I hope you were able to hear it and you learned something from it. But definitely missed you. And happy late birthday to Lee. I hope you had a good birthday, Lee.
Right, yeah. Happy birthday. Late birthday. Belated birthday.
Thank you. My power went out during my birthday. That was fun. It was super hot, but I
Oh,
had cake, so it worked out.
oh yeah, the cake can make up for everything. Bad day, but as long as you get that cake, and I don't eat dairy, so but the cake, oh man, can't beat it.
Well, it
All
gave
right,
you a reason to get out.
yeah. Unless it was made at home, but who knows?
Right.
But well, we're glad that you're back with us. We missed you, so I hope all y'all are staying safe right now because I know that if you are not in America right now, uh, the cases are not going down; they're going up. So much so that, and we're talking about COVID, of course, but so much so that a lot of states, I know my state included, is considering shutting down again. I don't know about y'all in Louisiana, where y'all are, but it's getting crazy out there. I know personally myself, I started feeling symptomatic, had a temperature, and I started freaking out. And what they don't tell you on TV is that it takes about almost 2 hours to get seen. You have to, if you want to get free testing, it's not always free. I went to the place and I had to pay a service fee. And well, it's false advertisement. Your website says free, but now I have to wait. I still haven't gotten my results at the time of this recording, but I know some people are waiting maybe 10 days or maybe 2 weeks just to get their recording. So just imagine them still going out around other people, So, I understand how this can affect people financially and especially mentally because I know I've kind of been depressed being at home. But this thing is, at this time, guys, I don't know. I don't see any end in sight of this virus.
I mean, I do, but it's you gotta just be patient and people just need to do what they need to do. I really don't understand too much of like a lot of it is just freaking entitlement of not liking change, which I understand. I understand you don't like change, but like uh, this is serious, The people that are frustrated about money,
Mm.
uh, I gotta be honest, money in the life, I've heard people say they will take money over life, I've heard
And
people say that, it's kind of heartless.
that's pretty sad to say. I wouldn't dare think about doing that at all. I mean, my life is more valuable than money because you can't take it with you. Speaking of money, a lot of people are traveling a lot lately, or it's cheaper to travel now. But one place y'all can't go is Europe. Uh, uh, the European Union and the EU, for short, which is consisting of I think almost 37 European countries. I could be wrong. Um, more than 10 countries in Europe, and they are actually banning Americans from entering the European Union and Europe basically.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I don't blame them. We got a lot going on over here.
And we do have a lot going on over here. And Europe is not seeing so many cases right now. They're actually, at the time of this recording, they're lifting their stay-at-home orders. But part of that stay-at-home order is to not have Americans on there. But you know what? That makes me mad. Don't you can't. I'm gonna be like the people who don't want to wear masks right now. You can't tell me what I can do.
The hell they can.
No, they cannot. They can't tell me. Well, you know what? Forget this. You know what? Guess what? We're about to go to Europe. We're going to Europe right now. Y'all want to go with me?
Let's go.
Let's go. Because I'm curious. I'm curious about how people in Europe are dealing with COVID, and they've been protesting too about the things going on in America. So I want to get their opinion about what's going on in Europe and how they look at us right now. So
I
I think the
really don't
best.
see how we're gonna get to Europe.
You know what? I'm gonna have my friend with me right now. He's a special friend. We've mentioned him on the show before. So if you don't mind, special friend SpongeBob, tell us how we're gonna go to Europe. We're gonna use our what?
Imagination.
What?
Imagination. That's right. We're going to use our imagination, SpongeBob. Thank you so much, SpongeBob. So, we have a lot coming up on the show. We're going to talk to some of our friends in Europe. Make sure you stay tuned because it's going to be a crazy ride. All right, so we're going to travel to France now, and somebody that I know from a mutual friend, a good friend of mine, his cousin, and she lives in France. So I wanted you all to help welcome Lena, all the way in France. Lena, how you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing fine, and you?
I'm doing well too. Just here in America, a lot of people are staying at home, so I'm not for sure how it is in France.
In France, it's better than before because now we are not in quarantine anymore, so we can go out, etc.
Well, it's kind of like that here too, and a lot of people are not happy about it. But we're gonna get to some questions. I'm not gonna keep you too long, but so I'm very oblivious and shocked that a lot of people and friends knows as good as English as you do. Because I'm in America, I never travel outside of America, so a lot of stuff I'm ignorant about and don't understand. But I'm just really curious. How did you learn English?
I learned English with school, of course, because English is the only language you cannot choose. You have no choice to learn English.
It's required.
Yes, it's required, and then you can choose German language or Spanish. And so yeah, I started with English and then German, and I improved my English with an option named European section for like 2 years. It's like 2 hours bonus for to learn English, like Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. I have more English than others students. And yeah, I learned with Netflix too and YouTube videos, etc.
Wow. Like and so many people that I know that are not from like that don't know English, a lot of them said that, YouTube has helped them out with English. So that's pretty amazing to hear.
Yes, and unfortunately, a lot of French people don't learn very well English. I don't know why, but some people can't learn English very well.
And hey, I'm from Louisiana, so my English is not that well too. So I mean, it's okay. We have no judgment here at all. But Lena,
Yeah.
definitely want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And I talked to you outside the show, and you just graduated high school, and we've had an American student on our show who just graduated high school too, and you all are going through the COVID, and so now you're in college. So how is that different? Just not being able to go to the campus or go to physical can't school since COVID's going on.
It was very weird because we haven't seen our teachers. We didn't even say goodbye to them. So yeah, it was kind of weird. And we had our exam coming, our final exams. So it was really, really strange because we weren't prepared to our exam. So it was weird, and we didn't know what to do. Our teachers didn't know what to do. We were lost too because yeah, it was like okay, one day you'll go to school, the next day you won't be at school anymore, and you will have to pass some exams by your own, but you don't know how is it gonna be. when you will pass them and everything. So it was very stressful for the students and also for the teachers because they didn't have any information from the government. So yeah.
And that's I can't even imagine because just not getting the extra help that you may need for an exam and having that pressure
Yes.
just to pass the school, and you did it. So we definitely want to congratulate you on going through all those years. But I can see how it is to go through all those years of school and just have an end at home. So uh, I say that the class of 2020, you all are definitely you all are strong. I give you that. You're very strong, and but
Yes.
because I know me, I would have been happy to stay at home and not go to school because
Yes.
I was average, like a C plus. I don't know how the grading scale is there, but I was like an average student, so I wasn't really smart uh,
Oh, okay.
academically, but so definitely kudos and congratulations to you, and looking
Thank
forward
you.
to it. Now, uh, we're talking about the whole COVID and what the world is going crazy
Mhm.
right now. And are people? I know that you are out of quarantine right now, but when it happened, were people in France just getting upset and mad because they had to stay at home? Or
Yes, actually, it was kind of weird because we react all different. Yes, we and we were when the government told us to stay at home. They were like some people were happy about it because they stay at home and they don't have school, for example, and others were like, what is going on, and for how long, how many time, how much time. It was really weird because some people in general were pretty calm, like they we didn't know how many time it will take to go out again, but people get used to the idea of stay at home and etc. And yeah, it went fine at the end. So
and like we're able to, you were able to use stuff like Zoom and like Facebook and stuff to keep in touch with your friends and stuff, right?
yes, and with our teachers too, because we had to continue school during quarantine, and it was pretty difficult at the beginning, but after, when you get used to it, it's okay.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna lie, like just I'm just very proud that so many people like you were able to adjust and just to just keep a common balance there. Okay, so Lena, I wanted to ask you. I'm not pretty sure that you watch a lot of American stuff and you hear about the craziness going on in America. One thing is something that's going on about police brutality and the unfair treatment of certain cultures in America and I know that people are protesting globally. Are they protesting there in France as well?
Yes, not like in America because it's more peaceful, and yeah, more quiet and calm. But the thing is that when the protesting happened in your country, it came back to us, like every black people or white people who fought a lot about racism. They thought, okay, we're gonna keep our voice up, and say what is racism, and they started protesting too, but it wasn't that violent as in America.
Hmm. And that's great to hear that people are trying to unite and just trying to end racism all across the globe, especially in France. And Lena, and you said that something that kind of, I mean, it's being viewed differently in TV, but then as it is on the actual streets of protesting. But you said that it's not as violent in America. I just want to say, what do you think about America in general? Not just because of the protesting, but what are your thoughts about America in general?
Actually, when I was a kid, I really thought that America was like the heaven, like really, because you are so, this country is so powerful and giant, and yeah, big. You have so many brands, and your culture is so important in France and in every country. I think it's a very very big thing. And when I grew up, I started to notice some bad things, like environmental things. For example, yeah, in France, we try to change ecology things because we want a healthier planet. And I think it's in America, it's not the same thing. Like you don't have the same point of view, no standpoint of about that, and that's kind of worrying me. And sometimes I'm kind of mad because I think it's very very important for the future, and I think in America you don't have this standpoint, and I think it's really really important. So yeah, but the culture and every stuff like that, and the series, I love American series, American movies, food. I love American food too, but yeah, some points that are not really good. And for example, police right here, and racism stuff in your country, it's insane, like really insane. If it happened in France, it wouldn't be like that, because in France we are not as racist as in America, I think. I mean, with gunshot, etc. Like when you use fire in the USA, it's really bad with racism, and in general too. Like I don't agree with firearms.
Okay. And that's thank you for telling me that, because that's one of the main reasons why people are protesting, because of the use of a deadly weapon to get justice or to apprehend somebody. But enough about all that for right now. I just want to get your point of view. But I want to go back to this whole American food thing. What kind of American food do you love?
Burgers. First burgers, and I love pancakes too.
But they have crepes and croissants there, right?
Yes, des croissants. I
And
love croissants.
I got this off of a TV show, omelette du fromage. Did I
Ah
say
oui?
it right?
Omelette?
Omelette du fromage.
Ah, omelette au fromage.
Yeah.
Yes, omelette au fromage. Yes, I know what
That.
this is. Yes, it's good. It's really good. I can tell you that.
So I probably shouldn't go to France because I probably like the food. The big misconception is the whole French fry thing. Oh, you have French fries, and like,
Yeah, it's
is
good.
that a big thing there? Or?
Um, it's a normal thing there. Like, yeah, it's normal. We prefer croissant and macaron. I don't know if you
Yeah,
heard about that.
yeah.
It's really really good too.
My mom's a pastry chef, and so I know what those are big time.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Okay, so I know that you have family in the United States, in America. Do they ever want you to come visit them in America?
Yes, yes, they told me several times to come here, and I'm planning to, but for now I have my studies right here, and after I will come for sure visit USA, and of course my family.
Well, you should definitely visit your family in Louisiana, because that's more of a French type style of culture that you probably would be comfortable with, especially in down south Louisiana, because they speak French too. So and we're up in North Louisiana, so it's more of a Spanish, but definitely we should visit. I know that your cousin is a very very good friend of mine, so I want to thank him and you for lending your voices today and for letting for him introducing me to you. So thank you. So uh, before I let you go, Lena, what's something that why should people love France?
That's a good question. Um, I think first of all because of food, because we all French people love food actually, and we have very very good dishes and pastry and etc. I think that landscape too, because of landscape for sure, because we have a lot of different landscapes like mountains and also the sea, and you can see a lot of different house. For example, in my region, we have very very specific houses with a really particular decoration. And if you go to the south of France, it's not the same at all. So yes, you have a lot of things to do, and we have Paris too, and Marseille, very very big city, and it's very different when you go to a city from another.
So I mean, definitely. And if I ever go to France, I don't think I want to go visit Paris because that's kind of like what everybody else. Oh, we have to go to Paris. I want to see something more than Paris. I want to see like the beauty and the, like you said, the landmark or the dot the no, I can't talk English now. One moment. Uh, so, but when I go to France, I want to see something besides the Eiffel Tower and Paris because that's what everybody goes to, and so I want to see what else France has to offer, and definitely learning a lot more about your culture in France. So, and like I said, I think that just you learning English and dipping your toe in German, that is amazing. Just to embrace other people's cultures, and that's kind of what we want to do on the show is to embrace others cultures and stuff that you talk about that you see in America about the racism and stuff like that. Maybe that can end if we learn to embrace each other's cultures. Lena, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, and maybe one day you can come back on the show, right?
Yes, why not?
All right, Lena, well, thank you so much, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, so this next story is something that's very dear to me. A very good friend of mine is joining the show. She is my family's former foreign exchange student, and I've grown to be so close to her. She's like my sister now. Please welcome Julia. How you doing today, Julia?
Hi, I'm good. It's currently almost 11 p.m. in Ukraine, but the time difference is great. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I know that you're back in Ukraine now because you actually were here in America, right?
Yep, I just got back like a week ago from Louisiana.
Yeah, and so Julia is like I said, just like a good friend of mine, like a good friend of our families. Just all around smart and intelligent young lady, and I'm so glad that I know her. Not just because she was our foreign exchange student, but just an incredible talent. And Julia, your story is one that a lot of people, a lot of foreigners, would love to experience, and just that. Just kind of tell us, how was the uh, foreign exchange program for you when you came to America?
So yeah, just to provide the context of my relations with the United States. So when I was in 10th grade, so my junior year in school, I got through this competition, which is called FLEX, Future Leaders Exchange Program. Basically, if you make it through 3 rounds of competition in English, this is like all in Ukraine. if you make it through 3 rounds and you become a finalist, you get to travel to the United States and stay there for a year, live in American family, go to American high school, experience like the other culture and continent. So I got lucky and I got this opportunity to go. I was placed to go to Louisiana. You don't choose where to go because they sort of like they pay for you, so you don't have much choice in that. But yeah, I got to go to Louisiana. I got a place with Calvin's sister and her host family, which was a completely new eye-opening experience for me. um and yeah, I was lucky to go to the south, to like one of those states that not a lot of people actually hear about outside of the states, because when people imagine the US here in Ukraine, they think about California or they think about New York, and I'm like, no, there's so much more there, and there's so much more like a variety of cultures and languages and just like customs all around the US. So after a year there in the United States, I came back to Ukraine. I finished my school, my high school here, and then I applied, and luckily I got into NYU, but to the campus in Abu Dhabi, which is in Middle East. So NYU has like 3 main campuses: Shanghai, New York, obviously, and Abu Dhabi. And Abu Dhabi is really generous because they provide full financial aid to students like me who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford this type of like high class American education. And yeah, right now I'm a rising senior at NYU Abu Dhabi. I was supposed to be in New York the spring of 2020, and I was there for 2 months until everybody knows what happened. COVID happened, and unfortunately NYU had to kick us out from the dorms because COVID spreads in the dorms like the best. Obviously, we transitioned to remote education, and I just had nowhere to go because Ukraine at that time already closed their borders. So my coordinator, Mr. Steve, he was kind enough to invite me and to host me for 3 months overdue of my semester in the United States. So it's kind of like it was a nice homecoming for me to go back to Louisiana after 4 years of not being there. So yeah, I've grown so much now to like the United States and to be like feeling like there is a part of me and like my another family is there. So yeah, that's my short story.
Yeah, and that's an incredible story, and um, you've experienced so much culture, just in these 4 years, and well, at the time I think you were 16 when you came, right? I think when
15. I left when I
15,
was. Mhm.
yeah, 15. And so you've seen so much, in these years that you've been in the United States, and it seems like every time you come here, something culturally happens. But let's just rewind right quick and go back to the Flex program, and
Mhm.
definitely big shout outs to Steve and the coordinator and my sister who all ahead of this stuff, and that work with you throughout this whole, and not just you but other foreigners, students who come to America. But like just I asked my other guest, just tell us, you speak English so well, and and to me, just anybody that English is not their first language. I mean, I just want to know, how did you pick up English so well?
Well, you know the story, but so yeah, I'm from a small town in Ukraine. It's not even a town; it's more like a village. And obviously, English education in more like a rural areas in Ukraine and other post-Soviet countries is not that good. Unfortunately, I had to hire like an external tutor and work with her throughout, like from 8th grade up until I left to the United States, and sort of like catch up everything that I didn't get to learn throughout my um, primary and middle school. But my main motivation at that time, when like you sort of like, you in the middle school, you don't know why do you need to learn these things, and people tell you like, oh, you have to learn English, but I'm like, why? Like I'm fine speaking Ukrainian. because I didn't get to travel back then, and I didn't know how much how much it exposes you to the world in general. But the only motivation for me was to understand Justin Bieber, because I had the biggest crush on him of my entire life when I was, I think, from 13 to 16 for sure. That was like, I was leading like Ukrainian community of his fans here in Ukraine. Like we had like a website, a blog, and everything. So I was really, really crazy, and I was translating different articles about him, his interviews, going back and forth between English and Ukrainian. And it really helped me because I was listening a lot to him speaking. I was listening a lot to other people in his like team speaking, and that like really, really helped me to catch up to my peers, for example, in Kiev, in the capital of Ukraine, who had like really high level of English because in their schools the education was just better.
And then there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, even our previous guest said that she watched YouTube videos just to learn English too, American sitcoms and American movies. So that's a great way to learn English. I'm pretty sure that can be a great way for somebody to learn Ukrainian or learn French. But just to continue this whole, I know that it's so long ago, and we've all been adolescents, and we all just been young. So I mean, it's okay to revisit these stories, but just the whole Justin Bieber thing. Like you came to America, you basically were the American high school teenager in America. I mean, that's so. What's the one thing about high school that you just that you didn't experience in Ukraine that you experienced in America? That I know that football games is a big thing for you, but what's something else that you remember about American high school?
Well, I think it's a lot of it is like relationship between like teacher and a student, because in Ukraine, unfortunately, it's still a very hierarchical, and your teacher is still like a boss, and you just should listen to a boss and never like question him or her. And in the US, I noticed that a lot of some teachers are more strict than others, obviously, but still a lot of them are very, very friendly, very open. They're like always there for you. They're always ready to support you, listen, just like casually, I don't know, talk to you about their lives, days. Like I remember teachers showing pictures of their dogs to us, like the first day of class, and I'm like, wow, this type of like connection never happens back home. And what was amazing about like my Justin Bieber story, that actually I couldn't afford a ticket to go to his concert because like my allowance was really, really small when I was an exchange student, and the ticket itself like costed more than $200. So my Spanish teacher at that time, Miss Garrett, I met with her when I was here in Louisiana recently. She was kind enough to sort of like organize and talk to my other teachers, so they all chipped in to my Justin Bieber ticket, because she was able to understand how important it was to me to see him. And right now, like for me, like the memory of that is not even Bieber or like seeing him in concert. Like that was fun and great for being a teenager, but just the fact that like an adult, like a teacher, could really understand the importance of this teenage dream, sort of, and emphasize with it and being able to help, like that was like wonderful and will always like stay in my memory.
Yeah, and just to culminate, just to learn all that the English just to come to America. Like, listen, guys, just to compete to come to America, just to experience high school life as a teenager, and then the one motivation that got you to America or to actually encourage you to learn English was Justin Bieber, and it
Yep.
culminating right before you left. Like it was a month before you left America, I think, maybe a month before you left, or maybe a couple weeks before you left. You got to see Justin Bieber in concert.
Yeah, like months before I left. Yeah.
And I just remember, not to embarrass you, but I mean, you're like my little sister, so I have to embarrass you, but just remember seeing your face when you found out that you were going.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
That until this day, and this is just me being off script, and to this day, that made me feel good inside to see that someone like you came to our country, and you were seeing your dream come true. I mean, we take so much stuff for granted here in America, but just like I said, you're from a village and you competed to come to America just to learn different cultures and just to take just a year of that and just to see it all come together when you ending to go see Justin Bieber in concert. So that made me feel so good inside. Personally, it made me feel good just to take you there. Now, I want to tell you this, Julia. I love you, but just being next to all the moms at the concert, that was uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. I probably was the only guy at that concert.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was a lot of people.
I'm glad that you got to experience that, and we're gonna have a little bit more of Julia. So stay tuned. Just give me 1 second. We'll be right back, guys. So we're still here with Julia. Julia has an amazing story, very bright and intelligent young lady. So Julia said that she came back to America because she's at NYU. And you were supposed to go. You were in New York 2 months. I'm pretty sure you had a blast in New York. Definitely compared to
Also,
Louisiana.
Harry Styles in New York. That's my new crush.
What New York is? Was it New York, New York, or?
No, yeah, it was in New York. It was in Manhattan. Yeah.
Oh wow, I'm still jealous. I haven't even been there. So, but you were in New York for 2 months, and then sadly, Corona happened. COVID-19 had not just affected America, but I mean globally. This thing was going everywhere, and it still is at the time of this recording. And so you went back to Louisiana, just and then not just COVID that happened, like then you see the deaths of George Floyd and
Mhm.
Rayshard Brooks and then Breonna Taylor, just all these different things going on all at the same time. Like you come back to America and you're seeing all these different things. Like I just want to get your take of all this stuff that's happening and you see all these protests and these civil injustices. I just want to get your take and what you see and what you're learning, what you learned when you were here.
Well, I guess it's kind of hard to uh, like remember all of my feelings, what I was feeling when I was there, because right now I'm here in Ukraine and it's again I feel like I'm sort of like far away. But when you're there, you like realize, oh my gosh, this is all like real and that's everything's happening and you don't know what the hell is like going on around. Um, but yeah, I think coming back to Louisiana, I knew already that I've changed a lot as a person. I developed or changed my views on a lot of things throughout like college because I was exposed to this type of like education. I was exposed to different conversations. Like NYU Abu Dhabi is one of the most international universities in the world. We have 115 countries represented. So I had the privilege of actually having people from all around the world, all around like corners of the world, sitting in with me inside the classroom and discussing all of the social and political issues. And you can see how much just the views and things that we're taught back home in our own countries change from around the world. And when you have such a global view already, when you got to travel as I did, and then you go to Louisiana and you start again maybe meeting some people who actually don't realize there is a world outside the US, but sometimes they don't even realize the diversity inside the US, and they don't realize that the US is made of immigrants, it's made of Black people, it's made of Latinos, and it's made of all of these amazing people who come here, work their like hardest, show their hardest work, and still not getting treated as they deserve. And for some reason, people just cannot grasp that the US has a very complex history with racism and with injustices. And it's okay to recognize the history and to sort of revisit it and discuss. And seeing this clash that happened between sort of like Black Lives Matter movement and all lives matter made me really upset because I really couldn't understand why people decided that there is a need to sort of silence the movement of Black Lives Matter and start saying that all lives matter. I heard this like great analogy saying like we have corona right now, and we all sort of like as the world we're focused on getting rid of this thing because it's really hurting the world. So you can understand the same with racism as we have corona. This movement actually got to say this is enough. We have to start dealing against this thing, getting rid of it. But if we're dealing against corona, why then other scientists, people, and doctors are not saying, well, flu matters, well, other like cancer matters, like HIV, why you suddenly care about corona? Like, no, because this is ridiculous and this is absurd. But for some reason, people are not able to draw those type of like parallels and analogies. So for me, it was difficult to be, I think, not be in New York, because I can imagine how in New York it's like I would be like around this like movement and seeing it firsthand happening. In Louisiana, everything was quiet. I didn't hear much people discussing it, but also on my side, like I've always been monitoring how the U.S. is portrayed in international media and how especially U.S. is portrayed in Ukrainian media. So I was looking into how Ukrainian media sort of like reports on the death of George Floyd and on Black Lives Matter movement, and just reading the comments on Facebook under those like articles of one of the most like famous media outlets in Ukraine made me really upset, devastated, and disappointed in my country as well, because I actually realized like, yes, Ukraine is a very homogeneous country and we don't talk about racism, or we don't even think about racism, or we're not even taught about this in schools. And you would think that people at least would recognize their lack of knowledge, or say that like, yeah, I don't understand this issue, so I'm gonna read more and like check my sort of like privilege of just not knowing those kind of problems in the world. But no, people who probably have never even interacted with people of different race unfortunately had such strong and disappointing views on the events in the US. At that time in Ukraine, we also had a case of very brutal police violence when a woman was raped inside a police department station. Um, and I was sort of like really, really devastated from both sides, because this is what's happening in the US when innocent people get killed by the law enforcement and police. And this is what's happening in Ukraine. And it's sort of, yes, it's different context, different sort of like precedent, but it's very similar issues. Yet people are not able to connect those two and say like, okay, like here are people in the US protesting, maybe in Ukraine we also need to get up and protest against police brutality. Instead of that, people just decided to take the easy part and be like, oh yeah, we don't understand that, we don't support that, why are they even protesting, US is great, US is amazing. Unfortunately, a lot of people back home still idealize US and they think that it's this perfect country without any problems, with super strong economy and very strong political system. And that's mainly because even in Ukraine, in my high school, I was taught very white American history. Like, yes, we talked about racism, but very, very briefly. Talked about slavery very briefly, but it was mostly about Industrial Revolution, Great Depression, and then how it was building up. We never ever talked about Native Americans and what happened with them when the British colonies came and when the US became started growing around. We never talked about how just slave trade really enriched Europe and other countries all around. So I can understand why people do not possess that type of knowledge back home, but it really amazes me that they were not even willing to possess the same type of knowledge. But at the same time, like, I know I'm being hard on also like my people and Ukrainians, because you can see the same thing in Americans, and some Americans, unfortunately, although they live inside that country, and you'd think that they would at least be more interested in the history and discussing the history of their own land. So yeah, that's sort of brief. I went on 2 different directions. Sorry.
No, it's just you're fine. You're basically you answered a lot, like maybe 3 questions I was going to ask you. So that's perfectly fine, and you said it so well. I mean that's exactly how it is. I mean you actually educated me on some stuff I didn't even know about. So thank you so much for just embracing all this. And I just want to just understand, because you said that a lot of people can't relate to a race that they're not familiar with. And when you, like you said, when you came to Louisiana, came to America, you wasn't expecting to go to Louisiana, and
Mhm.
then then to be placed with a all black family. I mean, that probably was a bigger culture shock than anything. Here it is, you are Ukrainian, and you're being placed with and not to just get my personal business out there, but my sister, who was a single mom and just with 2 kids, and you're just like, man, like, what did I get myself, not really get myself into? Not as a shock, but it was probably not the ideal American family that you were expecting.
Well, yeah, when you probably grow up in Ukraine watching all of those very typical Hollywood US movies, you think about American family as this middle class white American family living in very like pretty suburbia, having a Labrador dog, something like that. But when I got my placement, I realized where I'm going, and then that's completely different like culture. I sort of like, yeah, it freaked me out for a second, but even back then, thinking like when I was 15, I was like asking myself, why are you like scared or uncomfortable? What is it making you? Is it just because you've never been exposed to this culture, or you've never been taught about it, or you haven't interacted with people who have different skin color than yours? So I was able to have this like internal conversation with myself, and whenever I would have any like prejudice coming to my mind, I would really question it and asking where it's coming from. And a lot of the times it was based absolutely on nothing, either on my ignorance or on very selective history that I was taught in school or I wasn't taught in school. So I really try to come with an open mind, and I'm really, really grateful that I was placed where I was, that I got to live and experience African American host family, because your family, your extended family, like your aunts and everyone, they taught me so much. They taught me this history about slavery, about the ramifications of it after it was abolished, about how the civil rights movement and how their generations of ancestors were treated and fighting for the equal rights. um, and that was like very eye-opening. I just remember sitting in the kitchen at your grandma's house and talking about all of this and about different like problems also within um, Black communities, and within how like the families are raised and everything like that. So it was really, really, really amazing for me to just learn and listen and interact with people that I haven't met before. So I consider this like one of the best educating experiences for myself as well, and I'm really, really grateful for it because it impacted the way I now treat everyone
Mhm.
else that I meet from different culture or different part of the world that I haven't met before. And I try to always check my own privilege and prejudice and everything that I've been taught or not about this or that. Yeah.
Mhm. And trust me, you definitely have impacted us, and especially my niece and nephew, who you were like a big sister to. Not to keep putting your personal business out there, but you don't have like a brother or sister of your own, so it's just like, wow, you get these 2 little kids that you have to just get on your nerves, and just to see that's typically how it is. What you went through, that's how it is to be a big sister. Trust me, it's that annoying, but you can love them and hate them at the same time.
No, it was amazing as well. Yeah, I had a crash course on how it is to have siblings because I don't have siblings on my own.
It's like, but they definitely love you, and you've impacted our whole family. And like I said, just want to thank you. And I tell you a little joke. I know this is like a thing, and especially in Black culture, but you definitely got to experience the struggle because it's not always sunshine over there. But you were fed, but and you were educated, so that's kind of how it is. Is just you got to make do what you have, and so definitely you learn a lot and you've impacted us, and I'm glad that even if even it just takes one person like you just to flip the narrative and say, hey, this is not how it is. I've been through this before. I experienced this for a full year, and I've traveled to different countries, and just we have to check our privilege and ego and ignorance at the door, because that's how
Mhm.
the world can overcome. It's just by understanding each other and experiencing each other's cultures, which is what we're going to get into in the next block. Kind of talk about the Ukraine culture, and I want to get your thoughts on that here in a second.
What's up, everybody? Brandon here with Straight Up. We want you to be mindful of the importance of wearing a mask out in public. We know it's uncomfortable, but believe it or not, you are saving a life. This virus has hit our community hard, and scientists are still looking for a vaccine. So wash your hands, practice social distancing, and most importantly,
wear a damn mask.
All right, we're back with Julia. Julia, once again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Enough of all the politics and all the different sad stuff. Let's talk about your home country, Ukraine, or as most Americans would say, the Ukraine, which I
No,
found,
don't say
which
that. That really hurts me.
yeah, I knew you were coming for me. I knew you were coming for me. So
I
just
do.
educate us about that and how that's a big pet peeve.
So whenever first of all, I was hoping that after the impeachment, you said no politics, but I'm sorry. After the impeachment scandal, Americans will eventually learn that it's Ukraine because there's so much on the media. People saying Ukraine, 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 although some people were still saying the Ukraine even on public national TV. But whatever. So basically, when you say the Ukraine, you refer to a former Soviet Republic of Ukraine. You don't say the country of Ukraine. Why is this important? Because of history as well. Like, we don't want to be associated and thought of as this still a part of Soviet Union. uh, but just like think about it as like, you don't say the Spain, you don't say the France, you just say France, Spain, the same way you say Ukraine. You say the Netherlands because it's like the United States, because it's like multiple provinces and regions. You say the UK because the United Kingdom, it's also different kingdoms. You say the United Arab Emirates, where I study, because it's different emirates. So yeah, but if it's one country, you just say the name of the country. um, so please, and also Kiev, the capital. First of all, it's pronounced Kyiv in Ukrainian, and it's spelled Kyiv. It's not spelled Kiev as most people know. That's a wrong spelling that refers to a Russian way of saying it. And we as Ukrainians have been trying to get rid of it for a while now, because if you spell it and transliterate it from Ukrainian, which is our national language, it would be Kyiv, and it would be Kyiv. So yeah.
Wow, thank you. You know what? I didn't even know. I really thought it was Kiev. Wow, I didn't even. Wow,
it
thank you.
it's
Thank you.
technically like still like widely used, unfortunately, but
Mm,
more and more countries, and even in the US, like for example New York Times switched to proper name of Kiev. I think Facebook recently as well. So we're trying to make the change. It's sort of like, it's it's as we call it in Ukraine, it's decolonizing your language, basically. So we try to decolonize it from Russia.
okay, got it. And I definitely understand that portion of it. There's some words here in English that we in American English that we try to get rid of too, and most people know what I'm talking about. Um, so Ukraine, not the Ukraine, Ukraine.
Hmm.
Uh, from what I've seen and from like just even I think I FaceTimed you or Skyped you when you were back home, but or well, I would just see you talking to your mom back home, and oh man, I said even your village is to me beautiful. I mean, because I come from not much, but just seeing the country itself is beautiful, and just and didn't if I'm not mistaken, you actually I know it's politics, but you actually met a U.S. official, right?
Uh, yeah, I met quite a few by now. But when I was on Flex, I met John McCain, rest in peace,
Rest in
uh,
peace, yeah.
in the Senate building. Yeah,
Wow, but that was how was that?
that was amazing because um, I think that still was at the time when, for me, Republican Party was associating with something positive in a sense as somebody like a body in the US government that really cared about my country, which is Ukraine. Again, because Republican Party has been a great supporter of Ukraine and their fight against Russia. And especially John McCain was one of the biggest advocates in the Senate and in the party against Putin and against Kremlin's wrongdoings around Europe. Um, so I was at this like seminar, like 1 week program in DC from my Flex exchange program. And we had one day to just go around the US, just Capitol Hill, and see all the buildings around. So I went to see the Senate building. I think I was meeting with somebody. I was meeting with a assistant of a congressman from Bill Cassidy from Louisiana. I still remember. That was an interesting experience, an interesting conversation. We also got to talk a bit about the politics and about Ukrainian-U.S. relations. But when I was exiting the building and I was going somewhere else, I remember seeing this senior man walking with an assistant who was like younger, and she was carrying like a big portrait of Ukrainian political prisoner at that time in Russia. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know who this is, like although his face is really familiar to me, but he's definitely has something to do with Ukraine. So should I say something? Should I not say something? But then in the end, I was like, okay, this might be your like only chance in life. Like when else are you gonna be in Capitol Hill in freaking like United States of America? So I was like, he was just passing by me, and I was like, oh hi, I just want to let you know that I'm from Ukraine, and I'm really grateful for your support for my country. That's all. He briefly said thank you because you could see that he was in a rush, running somewhere, and I just was like, okay, that was good, nice enough. Uh, and then we sort of like separated. I started walking one way, he's another. But then I hear his assistant running behind me, and she comes to me and she's like, Senator McCain would like to talk to you. And I was like, holy, this is Senator McCain. This is the same McCain that has been on TV around like Ukraine all the time, like
Right.
everything. Like that was just such a great honor. So like, of course, our conversation was pretty brief because he was like in the rush for actually a briefing with his committee about the situation with the political prisons in Ukrainian political prisons in Russia. And he just like asked me about my country, where I was from, asked me my name. So it was a very nice and sweet interaction. So of course, like seeing him
Hmm.
passing away was really
Kind
hurtful
of,
for me. Yeah,
yeah.
because it's sort of like he was the last person who actually really, really cared, I think, from that party about my country, not
Wow.
only about their own self-interest. So
Yeah, and I can see how that now in today's time how that could be a little different. But like I said, I know we keep going back into it, but no more politics. We're going to talk
hope.
about Ukraine. We're going to make it fun now. And I know that one thing that you definitely actually last night I was going through my closet and I kept all your stuff from Ukraine. Like I still have your flowers and stuff. I still have your newspaper articles. I still have your flag, and said the candy and birthday card you gave me. So you brought Ukraine to Louisiana big time. And so what's something that people don't know about Ukraine that you think they would like? And just kind of tell us a little bit more about something that people would love and enjoy, especially the food.
Gosh, I think so. The dish that Americans mostly know under the name pierogi, which are those dumplings, is called vareniki in Ukrainian, and it's also Ukrainian national dish, not only Polish. So we're sort of like share that, and it's sort of like dumplings that you boil or you like cook in some other ways, and you stuff them with either meat, cabbage, potatoes. Sometimes you make them with the cherries as a dessert, and they're wonderful. It's like the best thing in the world. Like I love them so much. So borscht as our national beetroot soup. Um, Takes very long to cook, but it's really, really good. I know that not everybody might like it, but it's really nice.
Myself
Ukraine
included.
Ukraine is actually the biggest country in Europe if you don't count Russian part, because it's not like Russia is mostly in Asia, not in Europe. So territorially, Ukraine is the biggest, and we also we're also like pretty nice and green, and like I know we have like the Soviet architecture that looks sometimes gray and depressing, but there are so many beautiful places to travel around Ukraine that I even haven't gotten to see yet, which is kind of embarrassing. That I hope to go, because we have like canyons, we have a small desert in the middle of Ukraine, we have beautiful forests, like lakes, mountains, like everything. So if you want to come travel, it's also really cheap. It's unfortunately its economy is struggling, so of course the tourism um, is like one of the really good ways that we actually try to attract the foreign money to the country. And especially in the summer, I think like I see a lot of tourists. Some of my friends came from the university. My coordinator came from Louisiana, and they all just loved it.
When I get over my fear of lights or heights and planes, I may take you up on the offer and come see you. But
Should.
I'm a big guy, so me on in the air just kind of scares me. So I had to overcome that fear. But and y'all actually in the Ukraine, in Ukraine, see how hard it is. In Ukraine, y'all have the coolest flag to me because y'all have yellow and y'all have blue, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like a baby blue, and baby blue is just like a good blue.
Yeah. It's
And
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful flag, and you definitely embraced us with the Ukraine culture. But Julia, I just want to take this time to say that I am very proud of you. It's just me stepping out of this, being professional right now. I'm very proud of you, and I've
Thank
seen
you.
you since you were a little girl. Sorry, excuse me, teenager. I mean, teenager gave you that,
Cool. Yeah.
and just I'm so glad that you were in my life because you taught me a lot. You taught me a lot about different cultures that I didn't know. Because, like I said, as you said, that I thought Ukraine was part of Russia and didn't know this, and that's
Mm-hmm.
just imagine what other people think. And I think something that you said earlier in the show is that you know we have to think that the world is bigger than just the United States, and bigger than just Louisiana, and then bigger than Ukraine. Sorry, bigger than Ukraine, and that taught me a lot. And that's the reason why I'm doing this show is because we need to understand each other and venture out to other cultures because you never know where you're gonna be. I'm pretty sure you never thought you would be in America, Louisiana,
Nope.
staying
Definitely not.
yeah, and staying with my sister, and that's just impactful. But the thing is, you learn from it, and it made you a better purpose. And honestly, I think that what you went through with my sister and just living with her, that kind of prepared you for what happened this year because you had a better understanding.
Yep, like definitely. And thank you. Like you thank me so much, but like also thank you for embracing my culture. I remember like your family was always super excited when I was cooking something Ukrainian, when I was bringing like your mom making the cakes in the shade, like in the colors of Ukrainian flag and everything. That was so meaningful for me and amazing, and like I will always remember that. And yeah, thank you for embracing my culture and also for teaching me so much about your culture and history that otherwise like I would have never learned in my life, and I would never had this amazing insider opportunity to get to know you guys like better. So yeah, thank
Well,
you.
you're welcome, and I know that I had to make sure you experienced the American teenage culture fully when you came here, and I didn't know that we weren't supposed to at the time, but I took you driving on your birthday.
Yes, my last days in the US, it was fine. That was fine.
And I was like, you have you driven since then, or
Actually, not much, like barely.
for the first time you drove, you did pretty good. So
Yeah, I remember like hitting the like curbside accidentally.
but that happens when you're a first time driver. But I mean, when you're 16 in America, that's the one thing you want to do. You want to drive. Like I don't know
Yeah.
why that's so important. I got my license, and I even own my parents didn't even own a car when I had my license. So that goes to show how much it was that important just to have your license at 16. And I found out later that we weren't supposed to do that. So I'm sorry, but hey, you're older now. We can sweep it under the rug. And one thing you mentioned earlier was how you got to America. And for those, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be spread out, uh, might be listened to in other countries, but explain the importance of the program like Flex and why high schoolers or students around the world should maybe join this program.
I feel like it's so I feel like people just in general have to get out of their comfort zones and go travel, meet other people, preferably other countries. I know that not everybody has an opportunity to do so, unfortunately, and our economies and just the world is not built yet for people to be able to do that just on regular basis. And now with corona, like everything became so like closed, distant, like travel restrictions, everything. But yeah, in terms of Flex, I think it's a way of soft diplomacy for the US, which is I think the best and the smartest way they've been doing things in the way to build relations with Eastern Europe post Cold War, because the program was established in 1993, so just a couple years after the USSR broke up and after the Cold War was declared sort of like over. And it's just like whoever came up with the idea, and I'm like blanking right now on the name of the I think a congressman or a senator in the US government who was like, let's get the opportunity for the kids from the post-Soviet Union, from those former republics, right now young independent countries, to come to the US to just like learn about US culture, about US problems, complexities, and then go and share that back home. But also when they are here, they can bring a part of their country and let Americans know. And it's sort of like a lot of host families saying that if they host a lot, and especially if they get kids from different countries and cultures, they say like, we don't even need to travel because these countries come to us. And I think this is beautiful opportunity because it really lets the both sides to understand each other better, to understand the world as a whole better, to be exposed to different ideas, and just to be more compassionate, I think. um, as like for me, I see, like as I already said, an immense impact on the way I see right now a Black US culture, just because I was living with an African American host family. And if not this program, like I probably would have not cared, unfortunately, if I would be just like stuck in Ukraine, not getting out. And I really appreciate the knowledge it has given me, and I'm happy to hear also from you guys and the feedback that you're giving, like what you've learned about Ukraine. So just imagine if more people would do that, if more of those international ties would be building every year. Um, just the world itself would become closer and better and hopefully nicer to each other. And yeah, for you also, Ukraine probably never meant anything, but now I hope when you hear something about Ukraine on the news, you always like feel like you're a bit closer to the country just because you know someone like me. And the same way for me with the US, obviously. So yeah, this is kind of like the main idea of the program and of all of this exchange happening.
Wow. And big shout out to Flex. And I wasn't a part of Flex, but definitely helped them out a time
Yep.
or two. And I can't recommend that program enough, especially not just the students, but if you want to be a host parent to a foreign exchange student, definitely look into it because it is it's something that we didn't agree with my family, but I'm glad that we did, and we all pitched in to help out. And not just Julia's story, but other stories that I witnessed around Julia with her friends and working with the program coordinator. So it's just a program that I think that most people should really try to do, especially if you have a good heart, because it impacts people like Julia to become better people in the world. So wise words from a wise woman now in Julia. So thank you so much, and hopefully, if you come back to America anytime soon, I know we were supposed to meet up, but Corona didn't happen, and kind of
Yep.
it ruined the reunion between us. So I guess we have to come out there to you now, unless you come back anytime soon. But if you do, Julia, you have my contact information. I want to keep in touch, and hey, yeah, you can come back on the show anytime you want to.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me. That's been a great experience and opportunity to share my experience and ideas.
All right. Well, thank you, Julia, once again. And Julia, if you need anything from us, the show, anybody that's listening, let us know, and we'll definitely take care of you. Okay.
Thank you, Calvin.
Hey everybody, Lee here. And guess what? The reviews are in, and the Straight Up Show podcast is a hit. Don't believe me? Well, listen to what one of our guest panelists, Dr. Monique Thompson, has to say.
Listen, y'all listening to Straight Up and support this podcast, because I listened in before I came on the show. I liked what I heard. They're really focusing on keeping things real and being real with you, and I like that approach. So you guys support this podcast.
So if you want to listen, donate to the show, have a subject idea, or even want to be a guest, just contact us at straightupshow@gmail.com. That's straightupshow@gmail.com.
That was a crazy interview, guys. I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, that it's scary that people see America a certain way.
I mean, it kind of takes you back to the reason why I really wanted to do the Asian discrimination video episode, because I knew that Asians, before they come over here, they see Americans as, the picket fence, blonde haired people, blue eyes, cheerful, everybody has money, the American dream, and they get here and, not only are they truly lied to, but now they're part of a system where they don't even get the respect and looked as in a different way.
And that's scary too, because I mean, these are people in Europe, and just imagine all across the world, and if they think this way, there are people in America who think the same way too. And that's the problem that we're having right now, Lee. Like these people have a bit misconception of, especially African Americans. But as Julia said, she wasn't expecting to go to a African American family, and let alone in Louisiana.
That is, wow, that's insane. But yeah, there's a huge disconnect there between America and the American dream. And I mean, like you were saying, it's people in America that also have this disconnect, in addition to people on the outside looking in. And that's like, if we looked at ourselves through a foreign lens at like everything that's going on in this country, that's like to me personally, that's a great moral compass of like what we need to fix. Because if you have like literally unbiased outside observers seeing what's wrong with your country and able to point it out, then why wouldn't you listen to them even? Because, you know, they don't live here. They have no dog in this race.
Right. And that's so true. Like, and I want to touch on something that we talked about in our last episode with one of our guests. He was a cop in America, and like him, I grew up in the projects, and he said that he had to break the chains. And one thing he said about breaking the chains was that he grew up poor, but he went to a school that was predominantly white, to where it was so many different cultures and different personalities, and he wanted to experience that life. So he reflecting on what he was going through at home, and say, you know what, this is why college is important to me. This is why my education is important to me, because I can see other cultures. And now he is changed his life tremendously. And so that's what we have to do. We have to break the chains of what we see ourselves and what we're used to, and basically we have to be uncomfortable. And that's why we have this show is that we have to be, we try to make it as uncomfortable. I know that I teased a lot on Facebook and on Instagram that we're traveling to Europe, and a lot of you kind of caught the bait, but it was, once again, we used our
imagination
to get our point across. And it's because we want to make sure that we can think. You know, we know that the European Union doesn't want us there, but we're thinking, we're getting uncomfortable because we have to see this thing out. We have to understand, okay, well, this country is doing this. And one thing that one of Lena said on the show was that, you know, something that doesn't matter to us and here in America, she's more mad that Americans don't take global warming and eco care seriously, because that matters to them in Europe. Like they worry about the ecosystem, and it's like, wow, you're worried about, you know, clean air and stuff like that. That's, I promise you right now, 90% of Americans don't even care about that right now at all. So that's something that we have to maybe consider and see how they're living. And while that's so much, you know, I haven't traveled much, but if you look at France, it's so clean, it's so green, and you know, so we have to come out and talk about these uncomfortable conversations, because that's how we will grow, and that's how we'll stop seeing things like racism, and hopefully we see the end of police brutality and things like that, because the world, and I'll quote President Obama, and don't get mad because I'm pretty sure that you're gonna get mad about this. And Lee, if they get mad, they can go to our email at
I believe that is idonotcare@gmail.com.
I don't care at gmail.com. I do not care at gmail.com. You choose one.
Yeah, we don't want the I don't care people to get our emails. That happens all the time. It's so frustrating.
But we're just joking with you. But I want to leave you all with something that President Obama said when he was helping the Syrians out. He said that, America, don't be so quick to judge, because the world is watching. And I think that the pandemic is right now is a reflection of his words, because the world is watching, and not just with the pandemic, but what's going on this whole year in 2020. The world is watching. So, I mean, I am proud to be an American. Yes, I wear my American pride full front. But we have to realize that anybody can fall. Any great country can fall. So we have to remain humble and just know that the world is watching us. So we're going to continue the conversation going, guys. We want to thank y'all so much for joining us. You can visit us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, YouTube. And just make sure that if you have any questions, you can reach us at Str8upshow@gmail.com. We also have, if you want to donate to the show as well, we have a Cash App. It is Str8up Show Podcast 318. That's Cash App, Str8up Show Podcast 318. If you want to contribute to our show, guys. Hey, season 1's ending. How do you guys feel about it?
God, it's already that we just started.
Yeah, we really did. It's just the beginning.
So it is. Ride. Yeah, it's been a fun ride. It's just the beginning, and we won't stop. So we're gonna keep it going. But we always ask you guys, there's only one rule to the show is that you have to be
Straight up.